Hey everyone, Taylor here. I've wanted to kind of record some videos for you and try to do some news updates like some of the other guys on YouTube, Crypto, JT Nichols, and Mr. Yukon. Really appreciate you guys and want to kind of add my 2 cents for maybe a slightly more technical end. I was previously a developer with Ethereum and a few other projects, and I thought it'd be nice to get slightly more technical background on some of the topics that are coming up. So without further ado, welcome to Taylor's Blockchain Review. Let's get started with some Ethereum news. It's been a big week that was kicked off primarily by the pre-announcement of Ethereum in the Enterprise. We had some information come out from Consensus about this, but the community at large is looking for a bigger announcement. Hopefully we'll see some big bank names involved or something of the like. But it's really interesting to see that in contrast with some other consortium modes, they're working together in a cooperative fashion without maybe high entrance fees. And I think actually, although this is different for many enterprises, the way they've worked in the past, they'll find that there's a lot of benefit for that. And as more open source developers work in these corporate and enterprise environments, I think we'll see more and more cooperative open source usage. So that was really, really great to see, and I think really bolstered kind of the fundamental feeling people have about the usefulness of Ethereum as a programming platform. To that end, we also see a lot of excitement on the consumer side with the introduction of Status.im Alpha. The idea for Status.im is to incorporate the dApp ecosystem into more of a chat interface where you can send money easily, kind of like WeChat or WhatsApp, but also you could use that as an interface for dApp interaction, which I think is really, really interesting. I don't think too many people have brought up this dApp interaction instant messenger bot interface. Something I've thought about a lot about how to represent this maybe in a virtual space, but certainly a mobile application on your phone that's text-based is a really great first start, especially if it builds on some of the extra protocols in Ethereum and encourages kind of the core developers to build that infrastructure up a little bit faster. We also had some news in the investment area. The Digital Currency Group has invested in Etherscan. This is one of Barry Silbert's companies. Reportedly one of the first investments in the Ethereum ecosystem, but we shall see how that pans out. We also saw some news about Charlie Shrem intending to build some new projects atop Ethereum. I think this is really great news from an old school Bitcoin supporter. Would love to see more support from Roger Ver and others, but happy to have anyone on board that wants to build some new cool stuff. We also had some updates from the Ethereum Foundation developers. Jeff Wilke is now posting dev diaries again, which is fantastic to see. Just want to highlight a couple of things that have happened later in this week. I think most people will find interesting. For the developers, there's updates to Solidity programming language, which should be out and available pretty much anywhere. You have updates for ENS, the Ethereum name system, which was put out on the Ropsten testnet. So if you would like to register a name or to participate in an auction or otherwise, experiment with ENS, head on over to the testnet. There's a blog post, I believe, or a Reddit post where you can get this extra information about how to interact with it. We also had a new update of Geth 1.5.6 that continues to resolve and fix some issues. In non-Ethereum news, we saw some announcements from Monero this past week on their successful hard fork. They're doing everything they can to push the envelope in terms of privacy for cryptocurrencies. Similar to how Ethereum is not based on Bitcoin, Monero also is not based on Bitcoin in the traditional altcoin sense. So that gives them a lot of opportunity to innovate in different areas. Really exciting to see the work that's happening on that project, along with things like Zcash, which are trying to implement zero-knowledge proofs to enable more privacy on the chain. Also saw a big bump from Dash this week. I think as Dash Evolution, the next major version of their application launches, we're going to see more and more interest there. They haven't been pushing the privacy aspect so much, but I've been very interested in Dash's governance system, their second layer master nodes, and how that interfaces with the rest of the users in the community. They provide extra services and also get a cut of the block subsidy. There's also a Bitcoin birthday to celebrate this past week. Bitcoin is 8 years old, which is really amazing when you consider how much has happened in the space in just the last few years. For the first half of Bitcoin's life, about when I tuned in was when the first block reward halved. Not a whole lot happened in the space, but there's been so much investment, so many developers pouring into the blockchain space since. It's really great to see something like Bitcoin that's been around for 8 years lay the groundwork for these other cryptocurrency technologies to come about and maybe improve the entire ecosystem. Unfortunately, one of the problems we are still seeing in the Bitcoin community is the ongoing debate over scaling and how to go about supporting new technologies and protocols within Bitcoin itself. Right now, SegWit is on the doorstep for Bitcoin, which will provide some extra block space, but is primarily a malleability fix. What this means is that a Bitcoin transaction could potentially be represented in multiple different ways, ending up with different transaction hashes. But this is not really an ideal from an immutability standpoint because we want to be sure that one transaction refers to one thing and that you can't produce multiple transaction IDs or something confusing like that. So the malleability fix that's part of SegWit is something that's definitely needed. Support is struggling around 25% when they wanted 95% for activation. So we shall see if this will happen. Lastly, I want to talk about a couple of other news events happening. First off, if you are a fan of the nightly business report, my buddy watches it every night. We saw the first mention of blockchain fintech in a couple of years, which is really, really exciting to see this get further and further out into mainstream media and just the general people's consciousness. Not a whole lot or not a very long news segment, only a couple of minutes, but just the more people hear the word blockchain and fintech, the more they're going to be ready and on board for when this all happens. We also have Bitcoin Miami coming up in the next couple of days here. I saw crypto's headed there. I am not currently scheduled to go, but it would be really cool to go meet up with everybody and say hello to Charlie Shrem and others. And finally, a bit of speculation from Twitter. Balaji Sreenivasan, hope I said that right, is being rumored to join the FDA. He was a huge cryptocurrency proponent, part of A16Z. He deleted his tweets this past week. So if you're following him and go back and look at his timeline, there's not much there anymore. Definitely leads people to think that maybe he's headed for a government role. If so, I think that's really great news for the cryptocurrency industry. To have people in high levels of government in the United States and elsewhere can only help to bolster our position. The technology is not going away, so our governments need to get on board with this new technology and the new way of doing things. I think having proponents of it will only help to get us there faster. That's it. I hope you enjoyed my segments here. If you liked anything or didn't like anything, please tell me in the comments below. Hit the like, hit subscribe if you'd like more updates, and there should be more to come this week.